There's common defenses that arise in criminal cases, and a good criminal defense attorney knows that when you're preparing a defense, you look at your facts, and a defense will logically come from the facts of your case. It's not something that's just made up and tried to fit in a particular case, but it's evident in reviewing the discovery and getting into the weeds. You will see, hey, there's a potential defense here. Common defenses, it really relates to the type of case it is. There are lots of cases that involve a potential defense of the other person was the aggressor. And it's something that's a little different than self-defense, but it's essentially like, hey, the other person started it and it became essentially mutual combat. And so we would call that a mutual combat defense. We're also, of course, very familiar with self-defense. And in a situation of self-defense, an individual who's being accused of a crime would be entitled to use self-defense if they could say and they could prove that they used force that was reasonable in response to some type of threat or potential injury from the other person. It goes back to a lot of times who started it, who was at fault, was the other person the aggressor. That even becomes common at times in domestic violence type situations where one person might be arrested for committing a crime, but in reality when they get into the facts, there's two sides to a story, and many times the other person was the aggressor. They started something, then the person who retaliated or responded in some way ended up being the one who got arrested. There's other type of defenses, again, case specific. It might be an alibi defense. It might be, hey, I can prove I was somewhere else when this crime took place, therefore I could not be the one who committed this crime. It could be a third party defense. Here's evidence proving this is a different person who committed the crime. Yeah, there was an identification that took place here, but here's why that was a faulty identification. Sometimes there also might be a mental health defense, and that could range from a type of insanity defense or some type of mental state. Sometimes an insanity or mental health defense is not just that an individual was legally insane at the time of the crime, but it might relate to a specific mental health defense that could defeat the specific intent necessary to have committed the crime in the first place. Other very common defenses relate to intoxication. If someone is impaired because of some kind of alcohol or drugs, that could be a defense to a specific intent that's necessary to prove they committed the crime.